The Melbourne Cup 2025. Order of entry prediction video only on Staying the Distance.
Down the outsiders after Tayaka Nick in the final stages. The English horse Vintage Crop in the front. Vintage Crop will win the Melbourne Cup.
Oh, they've claimed winners all over the world, so I'm used to criticism, but I do it my way and I'm quite happy.
G'day worldwide, we're Lou Dub from Staying the Distance with the much anticipated Melbourne Cup order of entry prediction video. And remembering back to last year, I picked 45 out of 50 in the order of entry, and I got a respectable 7 out of the first 10 as well. And just a quick run through for those uninitiated or new to the channel. Every year the racing admin has the problem that more than 100 horses are entered for the Melbourne Cup, but only 24 horses can run. So those at the top publish a list of all those entered for the Cup, and this year there are actually 120 entered. Between the 16th of September and the last Saturday before the first Tuesday in November, those at the wrong end of the list had to try to get themselves into the top 24. They do that via a number of different avenues, but the simplest being winning a significant race or winning a Melbourne Cup golden ticket race. You'll see a heap more of that handy info if you stick with me throughout the entire video. Okay, now let's look at that order of entry prediction. The names at the top of the list are horses that have won golden ticket races. This year there is a record 10 golden ticket races, too many in my opinion. Important note, Ethical Diamond, who won the Ebor handicap, has not been nominated for the Cup as connections believe he wouldn't pass the VRC's woke veterinary protocols. Via Sistina heads my predicted order of entry, though I, as well as many others, don't believe she will be running. Next, I predict Treasure the Moment will be listed second. She's got 4 Group 1s to her name, and having won 2 Group 1s over 2,400 metres, she's more likely than Via Sistina to actually go on to the Melbourne Cup. The two are owned by the same group and are set to meet in the Cox Plate about 10 days before the Melbourne Cup. Al Riffer is next, as well as his recent Curragh Cup win. He's got the Group 1 Grosser Prey von Berlin to his name, and he is definitely coming to Australia as he was recently purchased by the Australian Bloodstock team. Light Infantry Man and Aliana, very unlikely to run in my opinion. Now, Scandinavia, he's a high-profile 3-year-old colt, likely to run in the English St Leger on Saturday, the 13th of September. He's won the Goodwood Cup. He should be very competitive in a Melbourne Cup. The big question is, will the VRC vets let him run? Further down the list, there is Sir Delius, who is making waves now. Actually favourite for the Cup with 2 impressive runs for the Bott Waterhouse stable since arriving in Australia. Alalcant at 21, she had a booming autumn carnival, winning a bunch of Group 3s and Group 2s before failing in the Sydney Cup. At 22, I have last year's winner, Knight's Choice, who returned to the track last weekend, the 6th of September, and was pretty good. Augustus is one many may not have heard about. He's now being trained by Kieran Maher. He was 3rd in the 2024 German Derby and this year won the Group 2 Grosser Hunter Prey. I didn't see you there. Come over. I'll let you in on a little secret. This year, I'm teaming up with Melbourne Cup Max to help him publish his How to Pick the Winner of the 2025 Melbourne Cup booklet. This is definitely a must for the once-a-year Melbourne Cup punter. But if you like to do the form for yourself, you'll also find plenty of handy information in the book. So please head over to pickthecupwinner.com.au for more details. River of Stars, I have her making the Cup field without having to win a race. She was a gallant 3rd in the Sydney Cup, and I see her possibly a little sharper in her second prep with Chris Waller. Presage Nocturne from France. I have this horse arriving in Australia and racing in the Melbourne Cup without any other race wins required, as the 5-year-old has already won a Group 3 in France, came 3rd in a Group 1 this year and also 3rd in a Group 2 this year. Connections have said the Caulfield Cup is also in plans, but don't be deterred if he doesn't win that race, as it is not the top priority.
I want to mention Further, another Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old who can make the field without winning any more races, in my opinion. He was a very impressive winner of the Group 3 Jeffrey Freer recently, and he is also nominated for the English St Leger coming this Saturday, the 13th of September. Flatten the Curve is worth a mention. He won the Group 2 2-mile Olinda Rennen in May earlier this year, a very dour type who has had wins over distances beyond 2 miles. He's raced in France, Germany, the US. He's a 6-year-old who I expect will travel to Oz. Campaldino, the Brisbane Cup winner, may still need to clock up a win to make the 24-horse field in November. At 44, I have Half Yours, whose rating has been adjusted since his impressive Caloundra Cup win. Unfortunately for Connections, he will most likely need to win a race to get into the Cup field. The Metropolitan has been touted as a target race. That's in early October. In pink, I have a few horses that are not qualified but may interest you. Golden Snap is a Japanese mare, and Hip Hop Deloire is another Northern Hemisphere runner. So here are the races that nominated horses can use to climb the order of entry. I've tried to make this as exhaustive as possible. In gold font are the golden ticket races. There are 6 remaining, the Archer Stakes being the first of them. In the light blue font, I've put a couple of races from Germany which could be used to boost your position in the order of entry. The first declaration payment comes along at the end of September, then we arrive at another golden ticket race, the Bart Cummings. The Group 1 Metropolitan is on the 4th of October, the same day as the Bart Cummings. Last year we saw Land Legend and Zardozi confirm their credentials in that race. The listed Queensland Cup is a handy option for a left field contender to pass the qualification clause. Second declaration comes halfway through October, and at 4,000 will cause for plenty to reconsider their preparations. Then we get to the business end with a raft of golden ticket races. This year the Geelong Cup and the Moonee Valley Gold Cup have been added to that list. I don't mind that. It's a much better option than the Belmont Gold Cup in the United States, but the VRC, it reeks of someone within that organisation having a connection to the US and using that race as a way to get a free trip over there to see their friends or family. Anyway, after Cox Plate Day, the races to watch will be the Bendigo Cup and possibly the VRC Derby, though I haven't heard of any Southern Hemisphere 3-year-olds being nominated for the Cup. What is qualifying or passing the ballot? Sometimes referred to as passing the ballot, but more often called qualifying by the TV pundits. Please don't be confused. Qualifying does not mean the horse will be in the 24-horse field on Melbourne Cup Day. The term only refers to a horse passing what I call a quality control measure. On screen, I've put a list of the ways in which a horse can qualify. This information comes from the VRC, by the way. Basically, the overriding theme of how to qualify is that the horse has had a strong result over 2,000 metres or more since February of 2024. There are some exceptions. Clause H says a horse finishing 2nd or 3rd in the 2023 Melbourne Cup qualifies, and Clause I says if the horse won the 2023 Caulfield Cup, they qualify. The 2023 Caulfield Cup winner was without a fight, and he has since retired, so that eliminates that clause. One horse that I mentioned earlier, and this is not a betting prospect for me, but let's look at Militarize, who won 2 Group 1s as a 2-year-old and 1 as a 3-year-old. He is one that doesn't qualify for the Melbourne Cup despite his high achievements in the past. Unfortunately for him, all those high rating performances were too long ago and over too short a distance. However, one sneaky way Connections could squeeze Militarize into the 24-horse field would be by coming 6th, 7th or 8th in the Caulfield Cup. Clause E states exactly that. Obviously, if he finished higher than that, he would also qualify, but it could be a viable strategy. Another option would focus efforts on Clause C. That states winning a listed flat race run over 2,300 metres or further would qualify the horse. And thinking back to our list of penalty races a little earlier, some perfect examples of weaker races for militarised to target would be the listed Kalgoorlie Cup or the listed Queensland Cup. Now, I am aware that according to the Racing Australia website, militarised is currently being trained at Rose Hill, so the Kalgoorlie Cup in Western Australia might be a bit of a travel issue. Anyway, some food for thought, and I hope I've at least cleared some things up. Perhaps if you know an owner, you could share this video to them. Finally, I'll discuss prize money. This is used by the VRC to separate horses that have got themselves to the same benchmark rating for the Melbourne Cup. Prize money acts somewhat like a for and against or goal difference column on a football standings table. And as per usual, this is not as cut and dry as looking up the horse's total prize money earnings at the Racing and Sports website. Prize money here only counts if it was earned in races that are considered relevant race performances. I showed you that list a little earlier when talking about what is qualifying. Well, let's now discuss something a little less convoluted. The latest odds, and I'm sticking with Bet365 here, Sir Delius has been elevated to favourite. I heard Adrian Bott post-race on Saturday, and he said Sir Delius would be taking a Cox Plate path while Vauban would use the Caulfield Cup. Trinity College at $17 is worth a comment. He's with Chris Waller now, a 3-year-old by the Northern Hemisphere timeline, and was a close second in the Group 1 Grand Prix de Paris back in July. As I mentioned before, Firtha looks good value at $34, though you must be aware that from this point on, you don't get your money back if the horse doesn't actually run. At the 50-1 mark, Knight's Choice, he will get into the field if he's healthy, and in his first run back he was reasonable. At the 100-1 mark, I don't mind Maidan. He pushed two very good horses to within 2.25 lengths in his last start, the Group 3 September Stakes, which is held on a synthetic track, but it's a race that has been used in the past as a Melbourne Cup preparation pathway. That was Prince of Arran who'd used that.
Check out the Staying the Distance shop now. Coffee mugs, phone covers, mouse pads, notepads, t-shirts, cushion covers, beer coasters. Buy them before they're banned. Link in the video description.
Well, that's all, folks. Feel free to leave a comment. And remember, check the odds, pick a winner.